Hi, has anybody joined yet? Hi, Christina, is that you that joined?
Yes, this is Christina. Is that Tammy?
It is, thank you. So you got connected, okay.
I did. I'm in the library. Are we the only two so far?
No, Vanessa James is here.
Oh, hey, Vanessa.
Okay. Hi, Vanessa.
Hello.
But were there any delivery restrictions that I needed to make note of?
Just that when they get here, they'll have to calm me down to let them in the door. It has to enter the apartment building.
Okay. Yeah, all right, I'll make a note of that for them. We'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. I see that Shelly and Justin joined. This is Tammy. How is everyone?
What happened? Are you still?
Hello.
Are you still there? Oh,
This is Shelly.
Hey, Shelly, it's Tammy. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so we've got Vanessa and Justin and Christina's on the line with us from my office to take notes. And I think we've got one or two more that are going to join. So I was waiting just a minute to see if they are able to get in.
Sure. I don't see you Tammy. Do you guys see me?
We see you, but I have their cameras turned off.
I just have mine on audio.
I'm not sure how to turn mine off, or I would too.
So probably at the bottom of your screen maybe is a menu, and it's got a video camera icon.
Uh-huh.
And just click on that video camera icon and it'll turn your camera off.
Okay, just in case okay.
Yeah, there you
here.
go.
Okay.
And you should see the mute one right next to that maybe, but you're going to do the majority of the speaking. So
Okay.
I think most everybody else will have theirs on mute during the actual meeting.
Okay. I have my manual out as well.
Okay, so it doesn't look like anyone else is going to join yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get started in the interest of everyone's time. Again, this is Tammy Keyser. Welcome. Glad you all could join. And Christina from my office is actually on the call with us and is taking notes of today's meeting so that we can get them sent out. So the main part of our meeting today is for Shelley to kind of give us an intro and information about the, Shelley, you'll have to say it, the systematic intercept model.
Sequential intercept mapping.
Yeah, there you go. So we talked about this the last time, and Shelley had provided some handouts for us. I apologize. I'm actually out of the office today. I'm not feeling well, so I don't have my materials in front of me. So, but I am going to let Shelley start and do that. Shelley, before we do that, do you remember the folks that are in our group, or do you want folks to do a brief introduction?
I do. I remember.
Okay. All right. So
At least those that are on the line. I mean, somebody could. I see a number 1-828-349. Is that you, Tammy? 2081.
No, that's Christina who's taking notes for us.
Okay. I was gonna say I don't realize that. I don't know that. And Amelia Thompson.
That's me. I'm here to take notes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and Amelia has joined. Yes.
Okay. Well, so the sequential intercept mapping process is a component of, and it really is just a way of doing community mapping in a very specific way around people with mental health and substance use issues who come into contact with the criminal justice system. Tammy, with the agenda you sent out, a really nice one-page sort of overview of, so really what it means is sequential intercept model. So what the intercepts are is there's 0 through 5. It is the points of intervention for people. So intercept 0 would basically be like if somebody calls our 1-800 number at VIA, or if somebody calls 911, and says, you know, somebody's having a mental health or substance use crisis, it's that first call of before what someone being called in the system. Then intercept 1 is then moving into law enforcement being called to respond. So going out on a call, from the dispatch all the way through the specialized police responses. We have a lot of police departments that have officers that are trained in crisis intervention team training. Points of intervention before a person has been arrested. Intercept 2 really looks at how to divert people. So it can be screenings being done at booking, trying to, like some counties have mental health courts where the magistrate can set terms for someone's release, getting treatment before they actually have a court date, looking at pretrials, supervision, diversion.
Because
Intercept 3 would be treatment courts, services in
like
the
sometimes I can
jail.
hear them and sometimes I can't. Like it depends on the person.
Am
So I
I
don't know
going in and out?
if it's on our side.
Hey, Shelley, it sounds, I'm sorry, this is Tammy. It sounds like somebody has their phone unmuted. So can everybody check and make sure you're muted?
Okay. So then the handout goes to Intercept 3, which are the treatment courts, programming within the detention center for mental health or substance use, looking for support for people. Intercept 4 is how people can transition from the detention center as they get ready to leave. And really in our communities, while prison is one thing, we're really, these are most things I think for our community we'd be focused on the county detention center. How do we make warm handoffs in Intercept 4 from someone in the detention center as they get ready to leave? And then Intercept 5, or what are the services and supports, including housing and employment, that people can access to help reduce recidivism and ensure they're getting the treatment they need? So that's just a brief description that looks at the handout that Tammy sent. And so what the model does is really brings together, the whole goal is to bring a group of people together. And you would be looking at, I'm looking at sort of the planning process and a handbook I have. You would bring a group of people together, and it would require key stakeholders, all the way, people involved, all the way through Intercept 0, all the way through 5. So obviously, so it'd be hospital systems, hospital EDs, the crisis care, mobile crisis managers, law enforcement, first responders, going folks in the court system, folks that work in the detention center, DAs, all the way through the folks in reentry, probation and parole, community corrections. It would include also it would include the resources or supports for people in getting things like housing and employment support. So you bring a large group of people together, and in a day and a half, you walk through the process of, and this is usually facilitated by 2 people, and we have 4 folks in our region who are trained to do the sequential intercept mapping, as well as we have folks statewide. And the cost of this by PRA is typically about $25,000. But because the state of North Carolina worked with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners to do the Stepping Up program, which really stepping up is asking counties to, quote, step up and try to support folks in this same area, trying to help law enforcement, detention centers, and keeping people out of detention centers with mental health and substance use issues. So the mapping is the first step in bringing people together, key community partners, key stakeholders. It's a process of, along this whole 0 through 5 continuum, really mapping out what's currently available, who's doing what services, what supports, what resources are available in each intercept level, and then looking at what are the gaps in services. And the really cool thing is once you start the mapping and get that map down, you can literally see, like where gaps are in services. And the other great thing about this is sometimes you bring these folks together and there isn't necessarily a gap in a service, it's a gap in people's understanding of how to use something, who they can call on. So there's a lot of good communication, and some of these things can be addressed just through, okay, now we know more about this, and here's how we can work together. So once you go through the whole mapping process, the group then really looks at, so with this map, what are our key barriers? What priorities would we like to set? What are our top priorities? And so the group then sort of develops a plan of looking at their top priorities and beginning the process and moving forward. Because for instance, priorities in intercept 0 and 1 could involve very different people than that in intercept 5. So you could pick and choose and have priorities sort of across the continuum based on what you feel like the most critical needs are. And then many counties that have done this, and I'm going to use Buncombe as an example because they have done this, they've actually, once they've done they did it the first time, they achieved the goals that they had set out to achieve, and then they had a second mapping process and it established new goals. So it's sort of a way to really highlight not only what is happening across the continuum for people coming into contact with law enforcement and the judicial system, but also to really develop better communication and to develop some consensus around what are the things we feel like we can take on. In some cases, it could be like, well, we may not have the resources to do a treatment court, but we can certainly work on doing MAT in the detention center. So it's a conversation about what are the resources, what do we want to work towards, what are the barriers to care, what are the barriers to making these things happen. And then also with these partners in the line, you hear about what are the resources around funding. So does probation and parole or some of the reentry programs have funding to do some of these things versus does law enforcement, does the judicial system, does VIA Health through our providers? So you're really looking at how to map this out, how to get a really good handle on what the current status is and establish some priorities for moving forward. What I would say is that so in order for this to be successful, it's really important to have key buy-in. So obviously the sheriff's department, police departments are mission critical. It's really important to get the county supporting this, that the county supports efforts in this kind of planning. It's important to have judges, the judicial system, and the DA's office and public defenders coming sort of to the table and having an interest in this. And all the way, at every point of interception, who are the people that if a goal is established can really work to make this happen? That doesn't necessarily mean that at every level of interception, every single stakeholder will initially be, oh yeah, let's do this. But it begins to build rapport, it begins to highlight issues. It could be that, the first several priorities are ones that have more buy-in, and then you begin moving to the harder ones. So I'm gonna stop there and let you guys ask questions.
Thanks, Shelley. That sounds really good. I know I was watching the chat box while you were talking, and Justin mentioned that during our last meeting, he sent out by email during that meeting to everybody a list of stakeholders.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we have that. And we talked about in that last meeting as well that we thought it best to pick a single county that was already had already implemented the Stepping Up program, and
Yes.
maybe narrow down and identify the key stakeholders in that county as we go along if they weren't on the list that Justin sent. And
Right.
I know that
That's a great idea, because really
Mia-
it needs to start
Mia
at a
had sent
county
out-
level. Yeah.
right, and Mia had sent out some information that she and some interns or staff at her place had worked on. I had a list for Macon County that my interns have worked on as well. So what do other folks think, or comments that you and questions that you have for Shelley?
Well, can I just tell you one more thing? So, because we were part of the statewide initiative that allowed people to be trained by PRA, which is the proprietary owner of this mapping, and now this can be available for free to communities versus a $25,000. I have a guide. If several of us have guides with all the materials that would be needed to do this. We have some really good facilitators in our region as well as the state who could conduct the training. And part of the important thing in this is I have a planning guide. So in this, in the materials from PRA, what it really suggests is that once it's decided that there is a desire to move forward, and we could target a county to move forward in, which it sounds like I think we can, then a small group of people would come together. We could review the planning guide, and I mean, it just really lays it out step by step, not only the timing, what to do, who needs to be involved, how to get early buy-in, all those things. So we don't have to recreate anything to make this happen.
Would we go county by county, or are we thinking one county at a time, since we're talking about the whole alliance?
There's no way to not do it county by county, because really this whole mapping, while at some point we could look at regional topics like let's just say specialty courts, that would be a 30th judicial district thing. But this is you have to do it by county, because really the whole area of interception is really heavily involved in law enforcement, detention centers, jails and courts, and reentry. So it would have to be done by county, and hopefully at some point there would be some 30th judicial district issues that could emerge, or some programs that would be maybe region wide, but it needs to be done by county, and it needs to be done by a county who has a lot of buy-in, especially if we're going to do it for the first time in the West. And then after the first county does it, we would have our lessons learned, and we could see if there are other counties that would be interested. But it's a little bit of a time-consuming process just to get the planning done, to get everybody involved, get the training scheduled. I mean, it's not like we could do it next week. It's a pretty significant, commitment.
Okay, Shelley, Justin submitted a question. He's not able to actually speak to us, so he's typing his questions in the chat box, and I don't know if you saw that or not, but he said that in order to get people, our group to be present and engaged in more than one county at a time seems like too much. So can you remind us, Shelley, in our 7 western counties, is it 3 counties that have implemented the Stepping Up program?
Yes, Macon, well, let me think. Macon, Graham, and I think Haywood. Haywood has a lot going on right now with several different programs. I mean, I'm going to just say, we want the first one to be with people who are really engaged. And we know, what I know personally, and I think Tammy, you could speak to this, I have had a lot of contact over the years with Robbie and his staff, and he continues to be evolved in his thinking, not only about diversion, but about treatment in the detention center and supporting people as they get out. I think Macon would be a great county to start with because it's got the population, sort of the size. They keep, while they do send some females over to another county, they keep a good number of people there. Haywood is a possibility, but we're trying to get some things started there in their detention center, and it might not quite be the right time for them. Plus, they've got a lot going on right now. I would like to do it in a different county.
Okay, and Justin just chatted in and said Macon is what we thought would be a good place to start, and he's glad that you mentioned that. So I know we did briefly mention that last week, and I think you know, Shelley, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if other folks know, but the health department was the recipient of a grant that just ended August 30th that started a transitional program for those that were in the detention center, and it was specific around the opioid use through those emergency crisis funds. So we started some of that education and transition to make sure that folks were connected to treatment, they were connected to resources. We have a peer support specialist that's now placed in the jail. Those kind of things, in addition to the services that we were previously doing in the detention center. And those are going to continue even though the grant has ended.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, we want our first one to be welcome and for people who are engaged to be excited and really want to do it. And knowing that then if we have a successful first mapping process in one county, that can then hopefully we can get some buy-in from other counties that will say, yeah, that worked really well in this county. And we know Robbie has a good connection with the DA's office and the judges. So I think he could help us get their engagement. I feel really happy. I mean, I would be very supportive of starting and making the one thing I think we would need to do is to get a planning group together to really begin talking through the process, because one of the things, you know, we all know if we're in the world of providing services, while there's never enough money and there are issues around treatment, where we really need to try to be more innovative is trying to help people with housing and employment. So this is an opportunity to sort of think about who are the people in Macon County that could help bring more employment and housing resources to bear. Who are the people that could speak to employers about taking a chance and hiring people? Are there funds available through the statewide reentry program that would help support some of that? So it's a really great opportunity to bring a wide variety of people together. So I would support Macon for sure.
Right. And I don't know if Mia actually got on the call or not. She's had some technical issues. But she and I were at that opioid town hall meeting that Western hosted last Thursday. And
Right.
There's actually a group at Western that is researching and working on looking at those exact issues. So we could be able to pull some of those folks in too, and not be duplicating, but finding out what they've done and how we can partner with them on that.
I think so too. I actually have one of the research, I guess he's a professor, coordinate that. I have his card somewhere. I met him at a sheriff's meeting. And it's really cool what he's doing. At the meeting, I suggested he reach out to, Dr. Kopat. Yeah, I have his card somewhere, Amelia, but it sounds like you may have it as well. I asked him to reach out to Robbie to see if Robbie was interested in participating. Robbie wasn't there that day. I'm not sure if he is connected with Robbie yet, but it would be a good opportunity.
Okay, we could get Robbie.
Yeah.
Which for those that don't know, Robbie is the sheriff in Macon County.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you all hear me?
and he has been very active and very involved. And then there's also one of the professors in the social work department that I met on Friday. I don't have her card with me, but that is specifically looking at housing issues and how Western can help. She's actually doing a published article on that research that she's doing as well. Mia, did I hear you chime in?
I was just seeing if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, Dr. Kopak is the one that you're all talking about, and he seemed to be excited about working with us, or at least being helpful in doing the Sims mapping. So I think that maybe getting with him as soon as we can, they could get a meeting with him or something like that to get some assistance with this, because he's done a lot of research. So I think that he would be an asset, not so much being part of the group, but just, being someone that we can talk to, get some information.
Okay, anyone else have any thoughts or questions? Okay, so Shelley, what are next steps then?
So I think our next steps would be to look at establishing a planning group in Macon County to begin sort of going through the steps of how we can begin to pull this together. Who would we need to reach out to and get their support and buy-in? I know some of those folks may not want to be on the planning committee, but we could at least begin the process. I thought I was going to be, I ended up having to go to Winston-Salem. My brother is having some medical issues there, and I just got back. I had to go this weekend. I got back right before the meeting, but I can bring some materials, some copies of materials around the planning time, the planning process, and we can go from there. But I think we need to really next time have a face-to-face meeting where we map out the planning and map out sort of how we need to move forward and who we need to engage in the planning. I mean, Tammy, here's the thing. And I was going to ask you if you could send me, I know you have a substance use group. I missed their planning meeting because of something I had with my team, but it would be nice too if we could connect it to either the mental health task force, the substance use task force, or a combination thereof, to sort of have their and it doesn't mean that those folks have to do all the work, but sort of, do we want to find a community sort of quote sponsor to help give it some legitimacy within the community as well?
We can certainly do that. I know our mental health task force meets again in November.
Right.
I had actually thought about having our group do a presentation report, introduction, something along those lines to that group.
That's good.
Depending on where we were at that time. The substance use task force, I don't think they have a meeting scheduled yet, but that mental health task force includes both of those groups. And then we will also be planning a summit, a countywide summit, where those two groups and some others come together. That will be probably December or January. But we can certainly get those folks on board as a sponsor for that.
Yeah, I mean, we have a great group, but I think with each county, it would be nice to, if we, to connect it with a county group, so we work together with them to give us that sort of umbrella and that credibility.
Okay, so do we want to then just kind of email about some possible meeting dates and who we think needs to be involved from Macon County, and then of course this group here, and to try to get the next meeting scheduled for that planning session?
I think we should, because we know if we can get some momentum in our planning between now and the holidays, then maybe we can have something scheduled for, like we can be thinking of actually doing it after we get through the, first of the year. I mean, I don't think we could plan it before then. Maybe we could, but.
Right. Okay. So does anybody else have any thoughts about that? Are you all okay with that, with moving forward in that direction?
Yes. I say yes from Vanessa.
Okay. And looks like Amelia's okay and Justin is okay. So I will get with Shelley and we'll get some dates together, and I will do a doodle poll to see what works for folks, and we'll include those folks in Macon County as well. So is that what you're thinking, Shelley?
Yeah, I think that would be great, and I'm sure you can find a place for us to meet over there at the health department.
I think I might can arrange that.
You might be able to get somebody to give you a room.
Yeah. So, okay. So I will, there was just a question that came in the chat box and I missed it. So let me look and see. So the question was from Justin, do we want a Macon County representative there at our next meeting? So, Justin, I'm not sure how to answer that question. So I'm the assistant health director in Macon County. So I lead a lot of the mental health and substance use initiatives at Macon, but we will certainly have some additional representatives there from Macon. One of our commissioners is actually the chair of that mental health task force that we were talking about. He's on the Health and Human Services committee at the state, as well as some other things. So he's real invested in this. We can have the sheriff there as well. So we will work on
Who's
that.
the commissioner?
Ronnie Bill.
Okay. Isn't he the founder of New Wrong Door or New No Wrong Door or something like that?
He is not, I wouldn't call him the founder. That was a county-wide initiative that was done. He is on their board.
Okay. Do you want to get anyone from Western involved with this? Even though it's in Jackson County?
I think it would be a good idea to talk to Dr. Kopak and see if he can be at that next meeting. And I'll get the professor's name from the social work department as well.
Was it Beth Young?
No, it was not Beth Young. I had not met this person before, and her name has slipped me, but she was in that policy breakout group on Thursday. Because she is specifically looking at housing and transitional housing, more specifically, that she's doing that research on. So I think their information would be helpful and supportive, and I think they need to know what we're doing as well, because they serve the whole region as well. Even though they're based in Jackson County, they are looking at the whole western part of the state.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't in the policy one, so I don't know who you're talking about. So I'll be happy to talk to Dr. Kopak, see if he's able, as long you're going to do that doodle, whatever you call it, meeting thing.
Yes, I'll send out a doodle poll and see what dates work for folks.
Okay, and I'll get with him too and let him know that we're going to get together. Are you planning on doing this in Macon?
Yes.
Okay.
But I can also, though, because of travel challenges and things, we can also do a Zoom meeting for that, and for those that can't be on site, or another venue, so that those who can't be on site or have travel restrictions can still join and be a part of that conversation.
That sounds great. Okay. Well, I'll get in touch with him tomorrow. At least send him an email. Okay. And let him know. Okay. Or do you want to wait until we do the doodle poll?
No, I think it's good if you go ahead and give him a heads up.
Okay.
And I'll be back in the office tomorrow and can also try to reach out to the social work professor as well.
Okay. All right. I might give you a call tomorrow too.
Okay.
I got to talk to you about a couple things. All right.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
We pray you feel better.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much, Shelley, for leading today and getting us off to a great start. And if you guys just paid attention to the chat box, Justin said thanks to everyone as well. So if there's no further comments or questions, we'll jump off and we will be sending out some emails.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Tammy.